If you found something linking you to a past identity, would you pursue it or let it go? The faded light of late afternoon filtered through the patterns of heavy, rain-spattered windows, casting muted shadows that danced languidly over the worn wooden shelves of the small coastal library. Dust motes hovered like suspended secrets in the damp air, stirring faintly under the painful hush that had settled over the reading room. Anna stood at the back, clutching her well-worn cardigan tightly around her slight frame, her round glasses catching the occasional flicker of the dying day. The silence was punctured only by the low murmur of voices, the steady, unyielding hum of colleagues gathered around a polished oak desk where her supervisor sat, making an announcement. Anna's heart pounded unevenly, a dull ache behind her ribs as she braced for an inevitable blow. "I'd like to congratulate Claire," the supervisor's voice cut crisply through the stillness, "on her appointment as our new head librarian. Her vision aligns with the direction we want to take the library." Even as Claire smiled, radiant and self-assured, Anna felt the world narrowing, the room shrinking around her like a tightening noose. The faintest shift of the afternoon light illuminated the fine beads of sweat forming at her temples. The deep, hollow emptiness inside her echoed the quiet applause that followed, a somber chorus in a play where she had been cast aside. Unable to meet the eyes of her peers, Anna's gaze dropped to the faded green scarf around her neck, a fragile link to a past she couldn't fully remember but clung to desperately. Her fingers trembled, entwining the worn fabric as if drawing strength from its threads. The familiar scent of sea salt and old parchment mingled with the faint mustiness of the books, wrapping her in a bittersweet solitude. "Anna," the supervisor glanced briefly, his eyes momentarily acknowledging but quickly veering away, "we appreciate your continued dedication." The words landed with the weight of thin ice, slippery and fragile, offering no true warmth, only a reminder of the invisible walls keeping her at bay. Anna's lips pressed tightly. The sting of rejection burned beneath the surface, an ache sharpened by years of silent perseverance. Claire's lauderlight, crystal line rippled through the room, a stark contrast to the tightness coiling in Anna's chest. The soft scrape of pages turning and the distant toll of a foghorn outside the weathered windows amplified the gulf between inclusion and isolation. Anna swallowed hard, the taste of salt and regret clinging to her tongue. Her breath came shallow, the rhythm of the storm outside now mirroring the turmoil within, a tempest of shadow and confusion. A sudden flicker from the overhead light sent wavering shadows across the bookshelves, mirroring the flicker of doubt igniting deep in her soul. The room retracted, the faces around her dissolving into indistinct silhouettes, a shifting tableau of the past condemning versus a future uncertain. Her gaze drifted once more to the scarf, the green threads a symbol of stories half remembered and truths just beneath the surface, things lost but not forgotten. The scene paused with Anna alone in the fading light, the muted colors and soft shadows casting her figure in delicate relief, the quiet embodiment of longing and latent strength on the edge of revelation. Night had draped itself over the coastal town, the thick mist weaving in through the ancient trees like silent fingers, brushing against the library's weathered brick and fogged windows. Inside, the air was cool, smelling faintly of damp paper and dried lavender, a quiet contrast to the turmoil unraveling within Anna's tightly held chest. She sat in her favorite armchair near the window, the evening's soft lighting casting muted shadows that exaggerated the hollows of her face. Her fingers absently traced the faded green scarf wrapped loosely around her neck, the fabric worn thin where years of silent comfort had been drawn upon. It was more than a scarf. It was a tether to a past she hadn't fully understood, a fragile link to stories whispered only in dreams and half-remembered moments. The soft crackling of a dying fire blended with the muted tick of the antique clock, each sound a metronome marking her spiraling thoughts. The sting of rejection from today's quiet humiliation still simmered within her, a wordless ache curling in the depths of her being. She replayed the memory, the announcement she wasn't ready, the curt glances, the way the room held its breath and chose another. A soft cough from the fireplace's embers drew her reluctant gaze. Her eyes wandered toward the windowpane, streaked faintly with salt spray from the restless sea beyond. The water mirrored the turmoil inside her, relentless, unknowable, enveloping everything in a quiet threat of erasure. Beneath the surface of her calm exterior churned a storm, twisting questions about worth, about memory, about the fragile balance between who she was and who she feared she might become. Her reflection in the glass looked back at her with unfamiliar eyes, softened by doubt but edged with a simmering resolve. She whispered to the darkness that pressed close, voice barely audible, "Who am I if not who they decide? What remains when the past is forgotten?" Silence answered, thick and suffocating. Yet, in that silence, a faint pulsy breath of something else stirred. The worn fabric of the scarf shifted slightly against her neck, a comforting reminder of stories untold and truths yet to awaken. The camera held tightly on Anna's face, a portrait of quiet despair wrestling with a nascent spark. Her eyes fluttered closed, and as they reopened, there was a subtle shift, a gleam of resolve melting the veil of despondency. Outside, the mist thickened, wrapping the ancient woods in a silver shroud that promised both concealment and revelation. The wind carried indistinct echoes, whispers from a time that belonged not only to the shadows but to the light she was beginning to seek. As the frame softened around her, Anna's fingers fingered a single invisible thread of hope woven through the fabric of night, a promise that the forgotten past might yet unveil the truths to redeem the present. And in the pause of breath and flicker of candlelight, the story balanced delicately between despair and discovery, poised on the edge of a quiet awakening. The silence in the library was palpable, broken only by the distant crash of waves weaving through the ancient, mist-shrouded woods that bordered the small coastal town. Anna's fingers brushed hesitantly across the worn, cracked spine of a forgotten book, its dust motes suspended lazily in the soft, fading light. The faded green scarf around her neck stirred slightly with her breath, a fragile reminder of the past she both feared and longed to touch. With delicate care, she pried the book open, the brittle pages crackling under the gentle pressure of her hands. Tucked deep within, almost hidden beneath a jumble of faded letters, gleamed a small, weathered ring. The metal was dulled by age, yet there was something unsettlingly alive about its surface, as if it harbored secrets just waiting to unfold. Anna's breath caught in her throat. The ring was an echo from a life she felt buried beneath layers of ordinary existence, a bond to a time and identity she hadn't allowed herself to fully remember. The tactile connection sent a shiver up her spine, the faint scent of salt and earth mingling with the faint mustiness of old paper. Outside, a sudden gust swept the mist through the coastal pines, the soft rustle of ancient leaves a whispered invitation, both beckoning and warning. The mingling scents of brine and damp forest floor seeped through the cracked window frame, threading themselves into the very air Anna breathed. Her eyes traced the intricate patterns engraved on the ring's band, shadows swirling over ancient symbols, the same symbols that had haunted her dreams. Her thoughts raced, memories flooding fragments of disjointed images, faces she couldn't quite place, places she didn't recognize, stories half remembered, like whispers from the depths of forgotten time. The ring was a key, a summons, and a challenge all at once. A restless energy stirred within her chest, a slow-burning fuse of both fear and determination. The green scarf tightened softly against her throat, an anchor to the path ahead, to the journey she hadn't yet dared to take. The quiet library walls seemed to lean in, breathless and expectant, as if the very air waited on the cusp of revelation. Lost in the swirl of misty memories and the tangible chill of the stone floor beneath her feet, Anna felt the weight of the unknown settle gently, a shroud inviting her toward a truth that felt both ancient and urgently immediate. Her gaze shifted from the ring to the window, where twilight bled like bruised velvet across the sky, fog curling over the cliffs like spectral fingers. For a moment, the world outside seemed suspended between night and dawn, caught in a liminal space where the past could ignite the future. Then, a faint glimmer caught her eye, a subtle shimmer as the metal of the ring whispered secrets in the fading light, revealing delicate, hidden inscriptions along its inner curve. Letters formed, soft as a breath against her skin, calling to something buried deep within an awakening long overdue. Tucking the ring carefully into her palm, Anna rose with a new steadiness, the scarf's faded embrace a promise renewed. The mist began to swirl more thickly outside, a living veil between the world she knew and the mysteries waiting patiently in the shadows. The camera held on the lingering glow of the ring, close enough to reveal the faint pulse of light tracing through the engravings, a silent beacon amid the gathering night. Against the backdrop of ancient woods, the distant cry of a lone gull pierced the air, echoing the fragility and strength intertwined within Anna's unfolding journey. In this heavy, suspended silence between what was and what might bait a story poised, ready to unfurl like the dawn's first light breaking through the mist. A chilled mist curled through the narrow streets of the coastal town, washing over the slate rooftops and tangled ancient pines like a breath drawn deep from forgotten ages. The first frail light of dawn seeped hesitantly through clouds thick with lingering storm, drenching the world in shades of muted gray and blue. In the library, Anna sat alone at a cluttered wooden desk, her tired eyes scanning fragile pages yellowed by time. The ring, resting beneath a dusty tome, caught the pale light, its surface dulled yet humming softly with hidden energy. Her fingers, slender and tentative, hovered before reaching out to touch the cold metal. It was heavier than she'd imagined, laden with the weight of stories unspoken and memories displaced. Each subtle engraving on its band stirred whispers in her mind, fen echoes of a past both distant and undeniably intertwined with her own. The room was filled with the scent of old paper, leather bindings, and a volatile mix of salt air drifting in faintly from the sea beyond the cliffs. The silence was delicately broken by the scratch of her pen on a weathered journal, where she began to note fragments, dates, names, places pulled from layers of forgotten letters she uncovered amidst the shelves. Outside, the wind picked up, sweeping waves crashing angrily against the rocky shore. Rain tapped solemn messages on the windows, a muted percussion to the storm brewing within Anna's heart. She paused, listening to the rhythmic chant of nature's unrest, a mirror to her own turbulent quest. A dry breath escaped her lips as she scribed a name she had uncovered, an enigmatic figure who seemed to bridge the gap between the stranger in her dreams and the faded portraits adorning the library walls. The mystery pulsed with growing urgency, threading the past with the present in a delicate but undeniable dance. Could this be the key? She whispered into the solitude, the quiet conviction a fragile arch against the shadows. Her eyes lifted toward the window, where the gleam of the ring shimmered subtly beneath the shifting clouds. A sudden streak of lightning painted the room in ghostly white, illuminating the spectral patterns on the ring's surface for a fleeting heartbeat. The heavy scent of rain and earth rose sharply, filling the space with the promise and threat of revelation. Fingers trembling yet resolute, Anna slipped the ring onto her finger. A chill surged through her, a disorienting shiver of connection past and present meshing in a single moment of fragile awakening. The room seemed to pulse faintly in response, shadows lengthening and shifting as flickering candlelight danced against the walls. Whatever this is, it's beginning, she murmured, the words a vow, a surrender, and a battle cry in one breath. A sharp rap at the door startled her, echoing through the quiet room. Heart pounding, she rose, the ring catching the flickering light as she moved. The handle turned slowly, the faint outline of a figure appeared silhouetted against the storm, unspoken and unreadable. Anna's breath hitched. Questions crowded her mind, but the answer was uncertain, a precipice on which her journey balanced. The door creaked open just enough to frame the first step of the unknown, and the scene faded to a low, suspended hum of anticipation as the fragile narrative unfolded, poised delicately between mystery and awakening. The steady drip of rain from the fractured gutter echoed like a metronome against the slate roof, each drop a reminder of time slipping mercilessly through Anna's fingers. Inside the library's dim aftermath, the room felt heavier, shrouded in a silence thick with question and doubted belief. Her fingers hesitated over a scattering of brittle letters sprawled across the wooden desk, their ink faded but still pulsing with grief and secrets that blurred the clean lines between reality and the long-buried past. The ring, now resting on a tarnished velvet cloth, seemed still, yet beneath its weathered surface was the quiet hum of something waking, something older than Anna, something that both beckoned and warned. The green scarf around her neck, a fragile talisman woven with memory, felt tighter today, as if bracing alongside her against what was to come. Her breaths were shallow, measured against the flickering flame of a single candly fragile pulse of light amidst mounting shadows. Outside, the mist thickened, coiling like living fingers around the ancient oaks, swallowing the coastline in a tidal hush of forgotten time. Questions churned in Anna's mind, fierce and relentless. Each lead she followed dragged her further from solid footing, deeper into a hand-woven labyrinth of half-truths and spectral whispers. Small Victoria's, a familiar name traced through faded letters, a worn map with markings that seemed to echo dreams, were shadowed by creeping doubts and creeping dread. At work, her allies had grown fewer. The usually comforting faces of her colleagues now shimmered with skepticism, some painted with thinly veiled suspicion. "Are you chasing ghosts, Anna?" a voice had hissed behind her back, the sting sharper than the salt air outside. Each glance chipped away at her resolve even as her need to uncover the truth intensified. A storm was coming, not just in the weather but in the fragile relationships she treasured most. Her closest friend, once a steady beacon, had begun to pull away against unseen tides, their conversations fleeting and laced with unspoken mistrust. Anna's nights were restless, marked by dreams of shadowed figures pacing misty cliffs, the ring slipping from her finger and vanishing into the roaring sea below. Those visions clung to her waking moments, blurring lines between what was remembered and what was imagined. One evening, consumed by the weight of uncertainty, Anna found herself at the edge of the cliffs, the sea murmuring promises and threats beneath a sky torn between twilight and storm. Her breath caught as the wind tugged at her scarf, the green fabric billowing like a flag caught in a spectral breeze. In the gathering gloom, a sudden flash of silver caught her eye, the glint of the ring, half buried among the heather and moss. Kneeling, she lifted it gently, feeling the cold pulse of its secrets pulse faintly against her palm. "I have to know," she whispered to the creeping fog, her voice barely more than a breath. Her hand tightened around the ring as the first distant peal of thunder shattered the silence, the world tilting on an uncertain axis. The storm broke then, rain slashing through the air like shards of glass as she rose to face the unknown that awaited within the tangled shadows of her past. Back inside the library, the candles flickered once more, casting shifting shadows over old letters and spectral portraits. As the wind howled outside, Anna's eyes fell on a letter she had not seen before, its edges yellowed, its seal cracked. With trembling fingers, she broke the wax and unfolded the fragile paper. The words inside bore her name, but the handwriting was not hers. A chill rushed through her veins as the letter revealed a connection to the stranger from her dreams, a name long silenced, a history intertwined with her own. The room seemed to tilt, the portrait's eyes seeming to follow her, watching, waiting. In that moment, the truth surged forward, knocking down the walls Anna thought would protect her. The candle sputtered, its light flaring wildly before succumbing to the flicker of shadows. Anna's breath caught, her heart hammering in the tense stillness. A sensation like cold fingers brushed her wrist, and the story, her story, was no longer just whispered in dreams but screaming to be heard. The scene faded slowly, the storm outside a relentless echo to the turmoil swelling within. The awakening was only just beginning. In the dim, amber glow of the library's back room, Anna sat trembling, the weight of the letter in her hands heavier than the weathered paper could ever suggest. Her gaze flicked nervously over the fading inker name scripted centuries ago alongside cryptic symbols and words spoken only in hushed tones among the shadows of forgotten history. Outside, the coastal mist clung to the ancient woods like a shroud, thick and impenetrable, suffocating the world in silence. Anna's breath hitched as the realization percolated, bitter and sharp like the sea spray that streaked the windows. Her past, the stranger in her dreams, the faded portrait in the library, all threads woven into a tapestry far more tangled than she'd dared to imagine. The letter was not just a clue. It was a tether binding her to a history she did not yet comprehend. The room seemed to constrict, the muted colors deepening into shadowed blues and grays, mirroring the cold shock stealing through her veins. The faded green scarf around her neck, once a comforting token, now felt like a fragile chain linking her to a forgotten identity. A sudden, faint whisper echoed in her mind, the voice of the stranger she'd seen haunting her dreams, a name half remembered and half forgotten, eluding grasp like a wisp of fog drifting over cliff edges. Anna's fingers clenched the letter until the paper crumpled, the sound sharp and decisive in the stillness. From the hallway, the soft creak of footsteps betrayed an approaching presence. One of her closest friends, eyes heavy with doubt and fear, held out a letter also inscribed in her handwriting but tinged with a different purpose, a silent confession of shared burden. "I found these too," her voice trembled. "They're trying to rewrite everything, our past, who we are." The confession cut through Anna like a jagged wave, washing away doubts but also sowing new seeds of isolation and suspicion. Trust fractured in that charged transparency. The hardest betrayal was not the unknown force outside but the familiar shadows lurking within human hearts. She wrapped the scarf tighter, an armor against the encroaching cold, and whispered, "I don't know what truth is anymore. But I have to see this through." Lightning fractured the sky, illuminating the library's stone walls and casting long, flickering silhouettes. The secrets bound to the ring pulsed beneath her skin like latent fire, demanding reckoning. Anna's eyes rose to the ancient portraits staring solemnly from the walls, their painted faces a silent jury witnessing the unfolding reckoning. In one such portrait, the stranger from her dreams gazed back, eyes alive with secrets, lips parted in a timeless warning. Her world narrowed to the pulse of breath and the steady ache of purpose crystallizing within. This revelation would be her crucible, the moment where fear met fierce resolve. The camera lingered on Anna's determined face, framed by falling shadows and the soft, ever-present mist seeping into the room like a ghostly tide. The story pivoted quietly but irrevocably towards destiny. A final flicker of the ring, its surface shimmering, revealing letters hidden until now, caught the candlelight, a silent signal of the secrets poised to awaken beneath the coastal fog. The scene faded slowly into the murmur of wind and tide, the whisper of forgotten truths stirring the marrow of memory, as Anna stepped forward into the unknown with heart aflame and soul unbound. The rain pressed heavily against the windows, a relentless drizzle painting streaks of cold water down the faded glass. Inside, the library was dim and still, the faint glow of a solitary lamp casting long, wavering shadows across the worn floorboards. Anna sat craned beneath the heavy, melancholic atmosphere, her frame hunched and slight, swallowed by the vast emptiness of the room. Her breath was shallow, uneven, mingling with the stale, dust-laden air thick with forgotten stories and unspoken grief. The broken ring, once a golden promise, lay cold and heavy in her palm, its past weight now a relentless burden, seeping into her bones. The threadbare scarf wrapped loosely around her neck felt more like a shackle, binding her to memories she no longer knew how to face. The silence in the room throbbed with isolation. The faint ticking of a distant clock was a cruel metronome marking the unraveling of her world, one moment slipping irrevocably into the next, washed in shadows as indistinct as the drumming rain outside. Her gaze flickered to the cracked mirror leaning against the peeling wall, a jagged portal reflecting a fractured self. She saw not the woman she wished to be, but a ghostly reflection with hollow eyes that bore the weight of betrayal. Quiet footsteps crept closer, not hers, but the echo of a friendship now fractured. The words of her closest friend resurfaced, sharp and unforgiving, wielding her fears against her. "You're chasing shadows. You're losing yourself." That accusation reverberated in the hollow hallways of her heart, a knife twisting in all the places light once dared to reach. The comfort of camaraderie dissolved, leaving only the numbing cold of being utterly alone. Anna's lips parted. No words formed, only a breath lost in the vast cavern of despair. The storm outside intensified, thunder rolling low and distant, vibrantly alive in contrast to the lifeless heaviness pressing within. Her fingers traced the surface of the ring once more, the metal frigid, unforgiving. It shimmered faintly beneath the flickering lamplight, a cruel reminder that the past she sought was slipping through her grasp like sea mist. A slow shudder overcame her, part sorrow, part surrender, as she sank deeper into the chair's worn contours, the room darkening around her like a closing maw. Even the scent of salt and pine from the distant shore seemed to be swallowed by the swelling shadow. The flickering of the lamp faltered, plunging the room into near darkness before sputtering back to life, a fragile heartbeat in the suffocating gloom. Her eyes closed briefly. In the void behind her lids rose the image of the stranger from the dreamsome mirror of herself and a stranger intertwined, smiling a secret no one else knew. The camera lingered as she exhaled, slow and hollow, the rising storm outside harmonizing with a soul unraveling within. The scene dimmed, the sound of rain the only companion to an unraveling story, one teetering on the edge of despair and dissolution. The night had thickened into an impenetrable shroud, swallowing the slender figure of Anna as she sat collapsed against the cold stone facade of the library. The biting mist seeped through her thin cardigan, weaving chilling fingers around her, mirroring the emptiness clawing inside. Every breath she drew was shallow, a fragile thread slipping through trembling lips. The distant roar of the restless ocean below barely punctuated the silence that had fallen on, oppressive quiet heavier than the fog that blurred the edges of the old coastal town. From her pocket, she pulled the broken ring, its jagged edges now mere cold metal against her palm. Under the pale light of the street lamp, the ring glinted faintly, its fractured shape a painful emblem of fractured ties of memories and identities splintered beyond reach. The ring once symbolized unity. Now, it whispered lost histories and dormant curses. Anna's gaze was drawn upward to the ancient woods, their towering forms etched in silhouettes against the ink-black sky. The trees swayed with the restless wind, their rustling leaves like distant echoes of lament. The path to her home felt miles away, swallowed by the enveloping dark and despair. Drawing her scarf tighter, she pressed the ring closer to her heart, but the warmth was a hollow echo, quickly fading into the chill that gripped her chest. Her eyes closed briefly, and in the depths behind her eyelids, the haunting image of the stranger in her dreams flickered, an indistinct face, just beyond clarity, smiling with sad eyes that seemed to understand the weight she bore. The library's door creaked somewhere behind her, a ghostly sigh amidst the stillness. Her shoulders trembled as silent tears traced cold pathways down her cheeks, their fall unheard, unseen, consumed by the void of isolation. No voices called to her, no hands reached out, only the relentless pulse of loneliness and fading hope. A sudden gust of wind tore through the alley, scattering fallen leaves like fragile memories around her feet. Among the rustling debris, the broken ring slipped from her fingers, clattering softly onto the stone ground. Anna's breath hitched the quiet sound, a cruel notification of her slipping grasp on herself. She looked down at the ring, now motionless and disconnected as lost dreams. The street lamp above flickered violently, plunging her momentarily into darkness before sputtering back, a harsh dance of light and shadow that mirrored her trembling soul. The night deepened. Around her, the air grew dense, the cold pressing ever closer as if to suffocate. Her figure shrank further into the cold stone, every sense dulling to a slow, numbed pulse until only the faintest sound remained, the distant cry of a lone gull, fading into the void. And then silence. The scene held in stillness, the echo of emptiness filling space as Anna sank deeper, broken, into the endless dark, a haunting portrait of a spirit on the brink of dissolution. The morning fog clung stubbornly to the cliffs that bordered the town, the mist a heavy veil that blurred the line where the sea met the sky. A sharp, cold wind swept over the rocky edges, carrying with it the taste of salt and forgotten time. Anna stood alone, Her figure slender against the gray swirling mass, the green scarf she always wore fluttering in the breeze like a fragile banner of memories she was desperate to hold. Her breath came quick and shallow, but within the cold air, there was a flicker of faint ember of something long buried beneath layers of pain and loss. Inside her coat pocket, the broken ring pressed against her palm, cool and unyielding. It had become a paradoxical talisman, a symbol of both fractured bonds and the inescapable pull of the past. She traced the ancient engravings, worn but still whispering secrets in the twilight. The ring's weight was a reminder of the path she had traveled, the moments of despair and doubt, the betrayals, and the unfathomable loneliness that had nearly claimed her. Her eyes swept across the mist-engulfed horizon, as if seeking answers hidden where sea met sky. The persistent echo of the distant waves was a solemn hymn that resonated with the ache inside her rhythm of endings and beginnings. From the depths of her coat, she drew out the folded letter, the edges soft and worn like a fragile leaf pressed in time. The words inscribed there, though blurred by age and aching with silent longing, bore one unmistakable truth, a misunderstood clue, faint yet resolutely insistent. As her fingers unfolded the note slowly, the ink caught the first glimmer of morning light, revealing a map of sorts, an invitation to traverse the unknown territories of her history. She whispered, barely audible, "Maybe this is not the end." The wind shifted sharply, swaying the thin branches nearby, scattering droplets that caught the light, shimmering briefly before dissolving into the morning mist, a fleeting symbol of fragility and of hope. Anna's gaze settled on the ring once more, its cold metal seeming to pulse with a heartbeat synced to her own. For the first time since this journey began, the overwhelming shroud of despair lifted slightly, leaving behind a fragile clarity, a spark fragile but undeniable. The scene held, the coastal fog swirling gently as light slowly reclaimed the cliffs, and Anna's silhouette stood firm against the awakening day. The camera lingered on her face, illuminated by the pale light, eyes reflecting a quiet resolve born from pain and tempered by newfound courage. In that suspended moment, the story poised delicately, an unspoken promise whispered on the wind that the search was far from over but now would be met with a strength born from the very darkness she had endured. The final frame lingered on the broken ring and the letter resting together, symbols intertwined like the past and the present, before the screen faded to the soft embrace of the rising sun. The dawn broke gently over the mist-shrouded coast, the subtle light spilling softly onto the rugged cliffs where Anna stood, unmoving, her silhouette a fragile wisp against the awakening sky. The air was cool and still, wrapped in a silken silence that seemed to hold the universe in a careful balance, and unspoken pause before transformation. Her fingers trembled with quiet resolve, clutching the ancient ring as if it still held the last whisper of the secrets she had unraveled. The storm of doubt and despair that had raged within her had begun to ebb, replaced by a cautious glimmer of hope, the faintest flicker of dawn breaking through a long night. Her eyes, tired but finally clear, traced the worn concentric engravings along the ring's surface, each line whispering stories of blood and memory, of lives intertwined with her own. The weight of loss was still heavy in her chest, a reminder that the path to redemption was fraught with shadows. Yet, somewhere deep inside, a fragile seed of renewal had taken root. Behind her, the landscape stretched, vast and silent, mist curling around jagged rocks, trees whispering ancient secrets in the morning breeze. As she took a slow step forward, the cold surface beneath her feet seemed to pulse with a quiet strength that matched her own, an awakening long delayed but now asserting itself. The ring, once a symbol of cursed bonds, shimmered faintly in the nascent light, its subtle glow a soft promise of unraveling the darkness that shrouded her past. She paused, holding the ring up to the delicate dawn, the soft glow illuminating her features, faint lines of weariness softened by a newfound resoluteness. Her lips parted, a deep breath filling her lungs with salt and promise. A whisper escaped, "I am ready." The wind, gentle yet insistent, brushed strands of her hair across her face, carrying with it an unspoken vow. Her fist tightened around the ring, the metal cold and unyielding against her palm, a silent armor forged in the crucible of her suffering. Her gaze lingered on the horizon, where the sky slowly brightened with the tentative light of hope. The camera lingered on her figure poised at the edge of awakening, a silhouette breaking free from shadows that no longer defined her. The mist began to lift, revealing glimpses of the path ahead, a journey that would be neither simple nor safe, but one she was finally willing to undertake. In that suspended moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath, watching as Anna stepped forward, her silhouette dissolving into the awakening dawn. The scene faded into a quiet, luminous stillness, leaving the promise that the first step toward healing had been taken. The dawnlight painted the ancient woods in hues of gold and amber, casting long, dancing shadows across the forest floor. Anna stood at the edge of the cliffs, the wind tugging at her green scarf like a silent voice beckoning her forward. Her face, serene yet fierce, reflected a profound transformation. Within her eyes burned a resolve forged through darkness, pain, and revelation. The ring, battered and cold in her palm, now shimmered faintly with a renewed strength, its engravings glowing softly as if responding to her newfound clarity. Every scar of her journey, betrayal, loss, and despair had etched lines into her soul, carving out space for hope and purpose. The ocean below roared in distant, rhythmic waves, an eternal reminder of cycles lost and reborn, mirroring her internal tides. With a deep breath, Anna slowly strode to the very edge, where the jagged rocks plunged into the misty abyss. The sky above was a canvas cast in fiery pinks and indigo, a silent promise that destiny awaited those brave enough to claim it. In her mind, she heard the whisper of the spirit, the voice that had haunted her dreams and shadows, a voice that once threatened but now seemed to beckon her to silence the tumult and embrace the truth. "This ends now," she whispered into the wind, voice trembling but resolute. Her hand, steady and unwavering, raised the ring high, no longer a relic of curses and forgotten histories but a beacon of liberation. The light from the rising sun caught the ring's surface, casting iridescent patterns on the clouds, illuminating her face in a halo of quiet victory. The moment was thick with symbolism, her silhouette against the vast, awakening sky, a testament to resilience and redemption. The wind carried her words away, blending with the primal roar of the sea. Then, with deliberate calm, she loosened her grip, allowing the ring to slip from her fingers, falling into the chasm below. It was a callous act yet gentle, releasing the past into its rightful oblivion. The ring's surface shimmered one last time before dissolving into a shimmer of ash and light, freeing her from its grasp. Anna's gaze lingered on the horizon, a silent vow etched into the very fabric of her soul. The storm that once threatened to drown her had become a hymn of rebirth. The sky brightened as the sunrise grew triumphant, spilling its promise across the skies and sealing her pact to confront whatever truths awaited. In that moment of sky and sea colliding, she felt the weight of her journey lifting. Her breath, now steady, carried the scent of salt and promise, a quiet acknowledgement that she had crossed a threshold. The tempest within had stilled, replaced by serenity, a peaceful dawn heralding her true awakening. The camera pulled back, capturing her figure against the vast, mist-covered horizon, vulnerable yet unbreakable, part of the eternal cycle of renewal. The scene lingered on her calm face as the wind brushed softly past, whispering of new chapters, an unseen horizon, sun ending, yet also a beginning. The dawn illuminated the ancient woods with a gentle, golden hue, casting long, soft shadows over the moss-covered stones and whispering leaves. Anna stood at the cliff's edge, the wind swirling her faded green scarf around her like a silent exhale of the shadows that had haunted her. Her face, once carved with lines of despair, now bore a calm conviction, a serene strength forged through trial and revelation. In her palm, the remnants of the ring lay shattered, the fragments dissolving into a shimmer of ash and light, scattering on the rocky ground like the last embers of her fears. The spectral voice that had loomed over Herbath Curse and Catalyst Voss now silent, its purpose fulfilled, its influence broken. The sky above spread a canvas of soft amber and blushin' awakening dawn, symbolic of renewal. Behind her, the ocean's gentle roar lapped against the cliffs, a rhythmic heartbeat echoing the harmony she had summoned within herself. The storm that once threatened to drown her had been quelled, replaced by a quiet hum of peace. With deliberate grace, Anna turned away from the precipice, her steps light but purposeful. Her eyes lingered on the horizon, where the mist coiled like a living breath, a veil between past and future. Her once trembling hands now steadied with a quiet resolve and unspoken promise that she would honor the truths she had uncovered and the life she would forge. Her silhouette, framed by the rising sun, was a testament to rebirth and embodiment of grace and resilience. The wind kissed her cheek as she paused, inhaling deeply the salt and air of the awakening day. The shadows in her eyes had been replaced by a luminous clarity, a newfound purpose in every breath. The camera lingered on her figure calm and poised amid the vast, misty expanse before slowly pulling back to capture this moment of quiet triumph. She was no longer a victim of shadows but a bearer of light, poised at the threshold of a chapter unwritten. The remnants of darkness lay behind, and ahead, the horizon beckoned with promise. In the stillness, a gentle silence settled, each heartbeat a testament to a journey beyond despair. The mist curled around her, soft and eternal, blurring the boundary where night once dwelled. The moment paused, whispering of an unbreakable spirit, a soul reborn from the ashes, ready to embrace whatever horizons the dawn had in store. The quiet dawn stretched over the misty coast, its gentle hue casting a soft glow over the rocky cliffs where Anna stood solitary, gazing into the vast, awakening horizon. The air was thick with stillness, the entire world holding its breath in the aftermath of revelations and battles fought. Her figure was slender against the expansive scene, silent yet resilient, wrapped in her faded green scarf that fluttered lightly in the breeze, a delicate symbol of everything she was leaving behind. In her hand, the ashes of the ring had cooled, their fragile remnants glinting faintly in the first light, an unspoken farewell to the shadows that once haunted her, to the memories that threatened to consume her. The storm that had violently raged within her soul now subsided, leaving only the gentle lapping of waves below and the promising silence of dawn. The sky blushed with pale pinks and warming golds, whispering of renewal, of stories not yet written. Anna's eyes, once clouded with doubt and fear, reflected a newfound clarity. Her posture, once bowed beneath burdens, now stood talon in spoken acknowledgement that she had tread through darkness and emerged into the quiet dawn of her own reclaiming. She paused, taking in the salty, invigorating air that filled her lungs, a balm for the fractured parts of her spirit. Her fingers brushed the faint scar on her palm where the ring had once pressed, memories lingering but no longer binding her. Her gaze drifted towards the gentle horizon, a subtle smile touching her lips, emblematic of peace and understanding. Behind her, the cliffs and the mist held their silent vigil as the sun rose higher, casting amber rays over the rocky landscape and into the depths of her soul. The tension in her shoulders melted into serenity, a delicate shift from despair to hope, from chaos to calm. In that tranquil moment, a soft wind stirred her scarf and carried away leftover fears, dispersing them into the dawn. The lake's surface mirrored her reflection, a picture of quiet strength, her face no longer haunted by shadows but illuminated by the promise of a fresh start. The scene lingered, capturing her silhouette against a sky awakened by light, a visual metaphor for rebirth. The gentle scene spoke of endings and beginnings, of chapters closed and horizons embraced as the mist and morning conspired to whisper silent affirmations of peace, patience, and the enduring truth that from darkness, new life always blossoms. The sun hung low over the rugged cliffs, casting a warm, amber glow that gently kissed the tumultuous sea below. Anna stood quietly at the precipice, the hollow remnants of the ring cradled delicately in her palms. The air was thick with the scent of salt and shifting tides, a silent testament to the endless cycle of change and rebirth. Her gaze was soft yet firm, a reflection of the internal peace she had fought so fiercely to reclaim. The faint breeze stirred her faded green scarf, a fragile echo of the past she had unraveled and finally released. With each breath, she felt the weight of her journey, the betrayals, the fears, the glimpses into haunting histories slowly dissolving into the vast, awakening horizon before her. Clasping the remnants of the ring carefully, she whispered softly, "It's time to let go." Her voice was a gentle offering to the winds, a final act of forgiveness, of liberation from unseen chains. The ash-like dust slipped from her fingers, swirling into the Ira silent, shimmering farewell as it dispersed into the wind. She looked down at her hands, the skeletal memory of past shadows slowly fading into the dawn's light. Her face, once shadowed with anguish, now radiated a calm strength, the kind born from understanding and acceptance. As she lowered her arms, the sky opened wider, the colors deepening into a tapestry of hope and renewal. Behind her, the cliffs stretched endlessly, a silent witness to her metamorphosis. The sea's endless song echoed in her heart, a lullaby for the soul that had faced darkness and emerged gently, insistently, into the light. The camera slowly pulled back, capturing her silhouette against the expansive, misty horizon, a testament to resilience forged through adversity. In that suspended moment of peace, Anna's gaze lingered on the distant, shimmering surface of the water, an infinite reflection of her rebirth, her silent vow to honor the past while embracing the promise of the future. The scene softly faded into the tranquil embrace of dawn, leaving only the gentle whisper of waves and wind, a poetic pause on the edge of transformation and the beginning of new life. The golden light of dawn spilled softly over the jagged cliffs, dissolving into the mist that lingered like a whisper of memories long faded. Anna stood quietly at the precipice, the breaking horizon a canvas of pale pink and warm amber symbolizing the dawn of her rebirth. Her figure was still, yet every line of her poise bore the weight of serenity earned from the tumultuous journey through shadows and revelations. In her palm, the last traces of the ring had dissolved into a cascade of ash and light, dissipating into the air like the remnants of her fears and regrets, now ashes scattered to the wind, free at last. The sea below was calm, no longer a relentless storm, but a gentle rolling tide that mirrored her internal peace. Her eyes, once haunted by doubt and despair, now shimmered with a profound clarity, reflecting a soul that had survived darkness. Her breathing was slow, deliberate, each exhale a prayer of release and acceptance. The wild wind tugged at her scarf, yet she held her ground, her resolve woven into every breath and limb. Behind her, the mist curled seductively around the rugged outcrop, a gentle shroud whispering stories of the past and promises of renewal. The distant cry of a single seagull was the only sound, a timeless hymn of peace, echoing the harmony she had fought so fiercely to find. Anna's gaze lingered on the empty horizon, where sky and sea blended into a luminous embrace, eternal symbol of forgiveness, letting go, and the beginning of a new chapter carved from the rubble of old fears. Her face was calm, eyes closed briefly, as if listening to the silent hum of her own heart aligning with the vast, unspoken truth. With a final, silent breath, she turned away from the edge, her silhouette a fragile yet indomitable testament to resilience. Every step she took away from the cliffs was a step into peace, toward the quiet, enduring dawn that promised hope beyond shadows. As her figure receded into the misty distance, the camera pulled back, revealing the vast, tranquil sea and the endless sky, a poetic mirror of the boundless spirit she now carried. In that quiet, lingering moment paused in the embrace of dawn, the scene dissolved into a serene tableau of serenity, the soft whisper of waves and wind the only witness to her profound transformation. The screen faded to black, leaving only the eternal silence of peace and the promise of new horizons. Have you ever had a dream that changed everything? Share your story below.